Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. I have with me for the first time on Dev Talks Brigadier Rumel Dahiya, who's going to help us understand what's happening with Pakistan. Yesterday, a very interesting report came out that the US ambassador has gone to Gilgit Baltistan. This is the same guy who called Azad Kashmir, who named the word Azad Kashmir, which we don't appreciate, of course. What they're trying to do and what is going to be the short term to the medium term future of Pakistan. Sir, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me, sir.
Please, thank you.
Sir, how do you see this development? ये जो अभी suddenly US ambassador साहब has gone to Pakistan to the areas of Gilgit Baltistan and POK and all that stuff. It seems the cover story is he's gone to see भाई education कैसे चल रही है वहाँ पर. What is the education system? He's been shown to visit लड़कियों का girls के schools में जा रहा है वो ये कर रहा है वो कर रहा है. What do you think? क्या हो रहा है सर यहाँ पर?
I think he's gone there for the second time, and this time
जी.
it was for a week. And for a week, he's not going to talk to girl students. A week means interacting with all kinds of people there, government officials. And Americans think it's their God given right to talk to even those who are opposed to the Pakistani government. Recently, as you know, that there were large scale demonstrations in Gilgit and Baltistan for two reasons. One was the Sunniization of the region, and second, not paying any attention to their concerns. Even food and fuel were in short supply, and the government wasn't really coming forward. And third, of course, the main grouse that has been there for a very, very long time is about uh, a situation which constitutionally puts them in a limbo. They are neither citizens of Pakistan nor they are part of a province, independent province, or something like that. So therefore, that opposition is gaining momentum. It's strong, but at the same time, the Chinese have had their people on ground. The Chinese have improved the road, created even diversion where a lake was converted a couple of years back. So Chinese are there in full strength. I don't want to let go of it. Uh, America, on the other hand, probably does not want to let the Chinese take over Pakistan. So as you've seen from the time that Imran Khan came under pressure, and he started blaming um, America for interference and for his removal from the post. Ever since then, America seems to have gained some kind of a foothold back again into Pakistan. The military sort of doesn't want to break off from America, despite the fact that mainstream Pakistani politicians and the military itself are more enamored of China today because they see them as their only savior. And China has made no bones about it that their friendship is primarily based on common anti-India sort of narrative. Now, America doesn't want to let go of Pakistan for primarily not because Pakistan is very precious. Despite Pakistan is saying we have a beautiful country, we have a strategic location and all that, but that strategic location, as you know, has been their weakness rather than a strength. The way they have rented their real estate, so that's been a weakness. So why America doesn't want to let go of Pakistan is primarily for two reasons. One, they don't want them to be selling their weapons because there's nothing much else to sell now, so they don't want to sell that. And second, of course, they don't want China to take over that. So they want to contest Pakistani space for influence in that place so that China doesn't take that over completely. Uh, Whenever Americans go there, they create leverages. So he's gone to Gilgit Baltistan to develop those leverages, and the Pakistani military leadership is which is effectively in command in any case, is in no position to stop America from doing this, because you know that IMF had literally told them that we can't give you any money. And if IMF had not given the sanction that money, $3 billion of standby arrangement against $1.1 billion that was yet to be disbursed, against 1.15 billion, IMF came forward to give a 3 billion standby arrangement, which means if necessary, we'll give it. Now, all that came because America wanted it to come. And following that, of course, China gave them 1 billion and Saudi Arabia gave them 2 billions. And despite all the tensions between Saudi Arabia and America and all that, after all, when they get a nudge from them, they do what they're told to. So the fact of the matter is that Pakistan is now absolutely a playground between China and America. In the past, what used to happen is that when China was playing its game, America would be happy being on the sides doing something else. And when America was, had, their mozo there, the Chinese would play safe and say, okay, Pakistan is being looked after by somebody. Both of them know, of course, that Pakistan has always needed to be looked after. That Pakistan wouldn't have survived on its own. So one was looking after, so other was feeling easy. But this time there is a contestation, primarily because America doesn't want China to have this, fingers coming down to Arabian Sea and to Bay of Bengal and everywhere. They don't want that to happen. So there is a contestation, and Pakistan is ready, sort of a party, to let this contestation take place, irrespective of what happens to their prestige, irrespective of what happens to their nation, to their society. So I think Pakistan has become a dysfunctional state, and all these things can be expected in a dysfunctional state. That's my
That's
view
a
of this.
that's a very interesting observations, I must say. But one of the things that we see with regards to Gilgit Baltistan, as you mentioned, the kind of protests which are happening there, बहुत ही मतलब it's a very tough situation for the Pakistani army itself. The kind of recommendation which is happening for the army is unseen before, in spite of the factor that they've been able to change the demography to a large extent. How do you see that aspect of it, sir?
The demography, in 1947, the demography was about 2080.
Ji.
Now, which means 20% Sunnis and rest of them were Ahmadiyas and Shias, and one or more, the small little sects, and some were animists, of course. And gradually thereafter, now it is almost 50-50, or some people say between 45-55 or 50-50, something like close to that. That has happened. But as a result, what has happened is that the southern portions of Gilgit Baltistan, or those near Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that side, they have been Sunniized. But areas like Skardu and all that are, of course, Shias. Um, uh, uh, Gilgit Agency and above, they are basically Ahmadiyas. Not Ahmadiyas, there's Aga Khanis.
Hmm.
And so what has happened is that there is a divide in society like this. And recently in Gilgit, there were two demonstrations happening simultaneously. On one side, there were Shias who said that there should be that there is a Shia cleric who had talked about Hazrat Imam and his son being killed in Karbala and all that, and therefore he blamed the Shias, Yazdi, who was the second caliph from Umayyad's second caliph. Uh, so he blamed him for killing Hazrat Ali's son. Uh, and so he was held up under. He was jailed basically for blasphemy. And blasphemy, as you know, is such a thing in Pakistan
Hmm.
that you just don't have to produce any proof. You just have to say that somebody has torn a page
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Quran or something, and that guy is gone forever. Either he'll remain in jail or somebody will kill him. So it's become such a nasty thing. So they jailed him, whereas they said, the Shias said of Gilgit Baltistan, that look, what he was saying was a historical fact, that Yazidi did kill him in Karbala. So he's not creating a narrative to do something. And this is a historical difference because of which we are separate in our jurisprudence, and we are separate in the way in our beliefs and the way we think. We all both of course pray to Allah, but then we think how things
Different.
develop subsequently. So he says, how do we deny a historical fact? How do you want us to stop thinking like a Shia and become a Sunni? So that is the main thing. On the Shias or Sunnis, on the other hand, said no, he must be held up for blasphemy. Now, if that happens, that means Shias have to give up their belief altogether and then start the same narrative as Sunnis do that. So it's a very serious, very, very serious divide which can't be breached. But that is one part of it. The second part is that, of course, Hazaras, for example, have been persecuted by Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, by under the state patronage. So Shias, that's why you have Tehreek-e-Zafariya and all that in parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So this divide stage Iranians have had problems with Pakistan on this, very serious problem on this. And despite being neighbors, despite being a geographical compulsion for both of them to stay together, Iranians don't like this kind of a thing at all. They simply don't like this, what's happening there. And that's why you keep having problems in Sistan and Baltistan. But it is not just one crisis over there, it's a polycrisis situation. Uh, Polycrisis situation at societal level, where the society is fractured. Politics, in any case, has reached its lowest common denominator. As far as people are concerned, I think there are some people who, under compulsion, have to go by the narrative set by the security establishment. But also simultaneously, even under such situation where people are so repressed, there are very strong voices on social media and elsewhere castigating the security establishment, holding them to account of what they were saying. They say, so they brought in Imran Khan to change the destiny of Pakistan, and they dumped him soon after. Thereafter, and you know that when last time Nawaz Sharif was declared non-Sadiq and non-Amin for not having declared 10,000 dirhams worth of money that he got from his son's company in Dubai, which hired him as CEO to let him to get him a visa in UAE, and so he was following the Panama paper leaks. So he was thrown out like that, and then Imran was dumped. And now the Pakistani army is taking over about 1 million acres of land in Cholistan and nearby areas. They've already signed an agreement for 50,000 acres of land. So it was not just the trade, it was not just the northern, the national logistics cell, it was not just the cinemas, the ice cream parlors, and what have you. Now they have started taking over the land as well. And of course, the plots thing is very well clear. Every good plot
Pakistan.
everywhere belongs to Pakistani army. And notwithstanding the fact that as per the rank, they get their land. For example, four-star chief when retires, he gets 50 acres of land for being a chief and 50 acres of land for being a four-star general. And before that, of course, they get, and the best of lands, you know that. And despite the fact that more than half of the people in Pakistan are landless, they don't have land. Government cannot give them land because they don't have a voice. Nobody listens to them. So therefore, that's polycrisis. The economy, as you know, it's so well documented, and I don't see, frankly, Pakistan surviving this economic meltdown. They have to, if not today, tomorrow, or day after, they will have to go bankrupt. They have to declare bankruptcy and say, sorry, we can't pay the loans. And so what they will force the world to really under American interest, Chinese interest, etc. They will force the world to forego part of the loan, not only reschedule the loan, but take a big haircut. And somebody will come forward to give them a bit of money to carry on like this. But that, as you know, not only has reputational damage, which means it's a begging bowl. It's something like Argentina, but it'll have the inflation, hyperinflation will continue. It'll keep coming under economic pressure time to time. For the world at large, the problem is like MBS recently said that if Iran goes nuclear, we'll go nuclear, because he is well aware that there is this whole state with weapons on sale. So that kind of a specter is also one of the reasons why Americans want to remain invested here. They don't want that those nuclear mark openly being displayed in Sargodha and Miyawali. So that's another reason why they're involved, actually. So Pakistan overall, I think it's facing a polycrisis situation, and it's not that countries haven't come out of it. There are many countries who have faced these polycrises. After wars, Germany was in bad shape, Japan was in bad shape. Russians had suffered so much in Second World War, despite being the victors, that they were literally bankrupt. UK, in any case, was bankrupt after the Second World War. But all these countries have come up, and they can come up again. In Pakistan's case, the worrisome thing is that there is no hope that they'll come up, because they're somehow not interested in coming up, it seems. And some people, of course, optimistically say that Pakistan is ripe for revolution, and that revolution should take place. Now that will reset a lot of internal kind of dynamics. But then probably there will be somebody who will emerge who will take the country forward in a modern direction, or in a modern way. But let's see how it happens.
Right for last evening, I put out a map of Pakistan, so how I envision Pakistan to be in the next some time. I have not put out a timeline. It's just a vision. As a matter of fact, I have left it open to debate, and I was, I've been inviting people. Please tell me if I'm wrong. I'll redesign it. No problem. But give me an argument. Now, revolution is a very interesting word that you've used, sir, uh, which tells me that you are sitting on a powder keg. Now, powder keg can be political, social, economic, whatever. Which wicket do you think will be hit first?
You see, look at the people's condition today. When you heard agitations in main cities in Pakistan, and we said when they were blaming Imran Khan to start with that on Eid we can't have a non-vegetarian dish. Somebody then interjected to say, I can't even have naan, forget about non-vegetarian dish. Uh, Now, fuel, many people can't really have, they park their scooters or motorcycles aside because they can't pay for the fuel. People have said, sorry, you want to cut your electricity, cut the electricity, but we can't pay the bills. Now, there's a very little wiggle room, not only for the caretaker government. He's like a caretaker prime minister, is like a BDO, nothing more, block development officer. He has not only that he doesn't have any powers, he doesn't have a standing as well.
Yeah.
So they can't do anything about this economic problem. He can't reduce the electricity charges. He can't reduce the fuel prices because they are committed to sort of a IMF deal. And IMF, although has been prompted by America to come to their aid, but IMF also has at some time have to stand up and say, look, you are in breach of those things, and we are going to withdraw from this. And there will be a crisis, immediate crisis again. The problem is that the people are unable to afford 2 square meals a day. So the familiar thing in such situations that has happened over there is first, reduce consumption. Second, reduce quality. And now they've come to a situation survive on the bare minimum. Now, if you've seen some photographs, I keep seeing, I feel for the people of Pakistan because having been abroad and all that, having interacted with the people, unless before we tell each other our names and one is recognized by or which country you live in, it's very difficult to actually separate from people from looks or from what we're saying or what our concerns are. So I feel for the people very much. But when you see the people sit, able-bodied men sitting on haunches in lines, waiting for 2 naans to be dropped in their hands, that is a heartbreaking thing. Because I'm sure he's not going to eat it himself. He's going to take it for his family. Able-bodied people with no job, with no earnings, and family without food is an extremely, extremely bad situation. Pakistan's below poverty line today has reached between 40 and 50%. And even those who have amassed wealth, even they are feeling the pinch because when they move around in their Pajeros, the fuel that runs that Pajeros is hurting their pockets as well. So if the well-heeled, well-to-do people are having problems, just imagine what's happening to people down below. And hungry stomachs with no future for their children and all sorts of pressures, threats to their lives and to their freedom are combustible material for a revolution. Anywhere, historically it has been like that and it's there in Pakistan. Only thing today is that people are somehow so repressed, they are so afraid of them being dealt with. I mean, you saw what happened after 9th May. 9th May was an orchestrated thing by the Pakistani army
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
to get hold of the situation, to then take charge fully, unapologetically. So similarly, the people are afraid. So what has been happening to people? Imran Khan has 150 cases against him. Ilahi, The moment he comes out of the court, before that there's somebody else with another warrant over there and all. Is it a tamasha? Is it a judiciary? So the institutions are absolutely finished. They are not just compromised; they are finished. I mean, the previous Chief Justice had started by 8-member bench to talk about this trial of civilians and military courts and all that. But even he gave up. He deferred the hearing and then he retired.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
2 months, no hearing was there. So judiciary is compromised. I mean, everybody is compromised. Previously, the game used to be that the so-called establishment, the bureaucratic sort of elites and the military elites and the judiciary, they used to be on the same page and they used to run the show. Now the judiciary is fractured, but absolutely incapable. So what Justice Chaudhary did during Musharraf's time, it is unthinkable for anybody to do that now. Although Justice Issa has been bolded sometimes, but he's also been sometimes. I mean, he's the one who threw out Nawaz Sharif in any case, in Sadiq and Amin case. Although he had previously questioned ISI for interference in the political affairs, and he has sometimes even questioned, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi killing Hazaras and disappearance of people in Baltistan. He had castigated the government, but I think he will be subdued. He will be told where he stands. Uh, and you saw that funny thing, when this journalist Riaz was yesterday produced in front of. He was said, Lahore High Court was told that look, he has been recovered and restored to his family. Where was he recovered from? Where was he all this time? No explanation anywhere, nothing. Except that his photograph shows that the guy is pale, he has lost a couple of kgs of weight, and he is all of a sudden great. So where was he? No explanations. That's not how states are run. That's not how governance is done. It's not a state anymore, frankly speaking, in the real sense of the term. Politically speaking, in political terms, it is a bad land run by goons, and the goons are khakis in any case. All others are either accomplices or their victims.
Sir, the problem in Pakistan, as I see it, is that the willingness to improve is just not there. There is just no comprehension, if I may, uh, within the populace, within the establishment, within the political elite, and of course the rich elite, that yeah, what we are doing is terrible, because they kind
See,
of justify it to themselves. So
you see,
I don't see that break coming anywhere. That's just my opinion. Your thoughts, sir?
I think you're right. Everybody is doing what he is doing based
Yeah.
on self-interest. Uh, Pakistan Army, for example, has no reason to give up its position because even if everybody else is hungry, they get their food rations. They get their share of the pie of the state. They have Fauji Foundation. They have their hand in the till everywhere. They appoint their people on retirement or while in service who hold anything where they can make money. It is their people. So why should they? They own the state, literally, practically. They own the state. So why should they give up that at all? And in Pakistan's case, please remember that even the civilian elites, they have a blood relation or the class relation with the senior lot in the army. One brother is general, another brother is chief secretary, third brother is a landlord of 1,000 acres of land somewhere. Kiani was the first general who belonged to a little or to a lower social background or
Yeah.
local family, local financial background. But then he became rich himself, so his class went up. And that's what happens with every senior military officer. So what happens is Munir, for example, who's chief now, before he was appointed as chief, there was no shred of greatness about him being shared or anything. The moment he becomes chief, he becomes great. He becomes a savior of the nation. People look up to him to save Pakistan. And he's talking, yesterday he was talking to the Christian missionaries and talking about bhaichara and
Yeah.
talking
Cooperation and
about
safety, and yeah, yeah,
religious harmony, when people under his watch go and burn their houses and kill them and burn the churches and things like that, in the name of blasphemy, so many Christians have lost
yeah,
their
yeah,
lives.
yeah.
So he's talking about it. Then he calls the businessmen in to say we are getting $100 billion of investments and all that kind. So he is the savior for everything else. So why does this happen? It's an interesting question to ask. So how a person who was not even known yesterday all of a sudden becomes becomes messiah. That is because of the corporate interest of the army. Because army senior leadership thinks that if they start challenging their own, tomorrow it will be their turn to be challenged. So they say it doesn't matter whether it is Munir or Akram or Zahid or anybody. As long as that guy is looking after the army's corporate interests, all of us are being looked after. ਸਾਡੇ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਬਸ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ that's fine. So
बहुत बढ़िया.
all
Thank you.
yeah, so that's why so it is that basically, that's how. Otherwise run of the mill, like Asma Jahangir used to say, these duffers in khaki have ruined Pakistan. She wasn't off the mark. She was a brave lady despite so many things, so much of pressure all through her life. Asma Jahangir spoke the truth. And now, let me say that on social media at least now, a large number of educated Pakistanis have started speaking the same language. They knew the truth all along, but they didn't have the courage to speak. Now, they have been speaking this. And I'm making this as a serious kind of a thing to say that Pakistanis deserve better. Pakistanis as humans deserve better. Pakistani societies deserve better. After all, if we can produce software engineers with great skills. There have been, I know of Pakistanis who have had great skills in software, for example. Pakistani textiles in America and Europe, etc., are valued. They like, the people like to buy those kind of things. But the question is, Pakistan has never got out of this security state syndrome, non-India syndrome, and all this kind of thing. And they think that renting out their space makes them strategically important. Now that kind of an ego, and that is fed by the same security establishment, that strategically we are important. Oh, you are strategically important. What about your human values? What about your human development index? What about your people's security, safety, prosperity? What about equality in the society? Today, I mean, the feudalism the situation of feudalism in Pakistan existing today is probably worse in the world. The kind of one guy have thousands of people working in his fields and all things, all dependent on him. So he abuses them, disabuses them. Their females are not safe from his lecherous eyes, and he becomes their masiha because he gives them food when they are going hungry. What is all this happening? And then they keep diverting the attention of these guys in the name of religion, against Ahmadiyas, against Shias, against Hindus, against Christians. So this poly, poor hungry guys, they take out their vent out their frustrations on these helpless and helpless people. So the society is broken. Society is broken. Economy is broken. Politics is absolutely destroyed. Now just imagine Nawaz Sharif. To my understanding, he hates army. He hates army because he has been done in by the army more than once. They tried to kill him, they tried to jail him, they tried to do this in earlier periods, and now they did it now when they used Saqib Nasir and Chief Justice Saqib Nasir and Khosa, next Chief Justice Khosa, to sort of throw him out, and just as he said himself. So they done that. He was done in after Kargil, that Musharraf, what he did to him, and now when he wanted Musharraf to account for those things, army again gave him an ultimatum to stop this or otherwise you will go. So he had to go. So he has had multiple kind of runoffs with the army. But his same brother Shahbaz, in the absence of the same, in order to remove Imran and in order to remove all the charges against him by amending NAV sort of a law, he goes and cozies up with the army. And he, before making any statement, I also have discussed this with the army chief, and he's on board on this. He would make this kind of a statement. Just look at this. So as a result, what's happening is that PMLN, for example, PMLN is in disarray. There is a problem between Nawaz Sharif and Shahbaz Sharif's thinking how to deal with the army. One says make adjustment with the army, it doesn't matter, be in power. The other guy says come in power because people want you to be, vote ki izzat, and sort out the army, put them in their place. Of course, both are on a losing wicket because Shahbaz was used to make these amendments to this Secrets Act and to the Army Act, wherein this anybody can be hauled up for anything even without proof, and so and this trial of these civilians by forges. So he has been used for that, for example. And look at the broken state of affairs. That the principal secretary or the chief bureaucrat who's supposed to advise and support the president himself conspires to make sure that without his signatures and approval, this becomes law. These controversial things become
He
law.
fudged the
So this is
signature
the
of, yeah.
yeah, I mean, not only signatures. The president comes out openly and makes a claim that he told them to return them
Yeah.
for certain observations because I don't agree with them, which calls for a second round of consideration by the parliament. And the parliament didn't have time to do that. So he conspires with them. I mean, all this, sometimes one wonders whether there is a state existing at all. I mean, forget about laws, forget about procedures, forget about rules, forget about constitutional positions and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can call it a state by any measure. It doesn't. It's not a state. There is a geography, yes, contested geography at that. And there is a forge which rules over this thing. And the same forge, mighty forge, people are now asking questions. What is this mighty forge doing against TTP? They can come into Chitral and occupy villages. What is this mighty force doing in everyday ambushes and all that? I think in the month of March, April, there were 150 incidents of, terrorist attacks. So what is
Yeah.
this mighty force doing? Why aren't they moving? Why can't they do anything about it and all that? So they're not interested about that. So it's a broken state actually. So your question about where will it go, what kind of a map it will have, extremely difficult to say, because if it breaks up, there will be forces who would not want it to break up,
Yep.
who would want it to somehow stumble along, carry on in whatever dysfunctional manner, but carry on, exist as a society. They will want. Americans won't want. China won't want, for example. Some of the Arab states may not want. But if it breaks up, then in my thinking, the breakup will not stop at 4. Because in Sindh, there will be a contestation between urban Sindh and rural Sindh. Contestation between Sindhis and Mohajirs, and the Pathans who come and settle down in Karachi and Narangi and all that. In Balochistan, northern parts of Balochistan, the Pashtuns will claim. Baluchis will claim south. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the tribes will, different tribes, Mahsuds and Afridis and all that will not be satisfied with living together with Khataks. So they will be separate. Chitral will be separate. Gilgit Baltistan, of course, have a safe route of rejoining with India. They will join. That's not a problem. So Pakistan, in that case, will have multiple principalities, or in the previous times they used to be called khanates. In the Great Game, Russians had taken over khanates in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and all. So there will be a large number of khanates there, and should it break up. I'm not laying any time frame for that, because there will be forces which will try and keep them together, and then someday maybe somebody from within the army or politically somebody might be strong enough to start repairing things, and things might improve over a period of time. Possible. It's quite possible. One must be optimistic about human ingenuity and human desire to survive, the will to survive. Even countries can sometimes have that will to survive, and they might work. But if it breaks up, then please don't restrict your map to just four or something like that. Then there will be many maps. very small maps, and each at the throat of the other. So it will be a Bagas model. Each
Awesome.
toying with some nuclear toys, playing with nuclear toys.
So I will send you my map, and I'd really appreciate your feedback on it, because I am trying to build up a conversation. That's what I'm trying to do, and I've said this very openly. This is just to build up a conversation. Please give me feedback, because
We would.
I'm not a cartographer. I'm just a guy who's trying to analyze the
No,
situation
no,
and
I
figure out
understand.
what.
See, you see, I don't think India has a stake in breakup of Pakistan. We don't want a belligerent Pakistan. Whether
Yeah,
Pakistan stays poor or prosperous, weak or strong is none of our concern. It's they have to decide what they want. They took a country, they wanted to make it a pure country, with a rich, prosperous country and all that. They are most welcome to make that of it. They are most welcome to destroy it if they like. So we do not have a stake in that, frankly, and we shouldn't be really worrying about that too much. But still, we would want that if it is it's a stable country where you can, with predictable behavior, so we can also peacefully do our coexistence with them, and probably with some kind of a cooperation wherein people's problem can be solved with mutual. For example, if they don't have tomatoes in a particular season, we can give them that. If we have a problem with sugar, probably they can give us that. This is people to people kind of a thing where people from both sides are benefited. So we don't want to break up Pakistan. We have no interest in that. We want a we want a Pakistan which is not troublesome, which is not belligerent, which doesn't act against our interests, and probably, if also, of course, let's say, like a normal country, let's us interact with Afghanistan, Central Asia, and all this kind of a thing, so that there's a collective human endeavor to uplift the people's sort of living standard and prosperity. So that's our interest. But what I'm saying is, prognosis is another thing. We may want this, but it may or may not happen. So my simple point is this: that the present prognosis is not great, and unless there is a redemption, unless somebody comes and redeems, recovers, improves the situation, Pakistan doesn't look like having a very bright future anytime soon, at least.
as they say, not a snowball's chance in hell to survive.
It looks like economy is particularly this thing troublesome, which leads to social problems.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just a last 2 minute comment on. I have a small theory that the Saudis are wanting to kind of take their weapons. The recent interview given by MBS to American news channel also kind of hinted to that. He didn't really say that I'm going to take Pakistani weapons, but we know that this thing. So my theory says that the only way to denuclearize Pakistan is not to remove the weapons, but to transfer the weapons to someone else for safekeeping or whatever. And the Saudis do need
No,
it, because if the Israelis have a bomb and the Iranians have a bomb, they need to have a bomb to kind of look at them in the eye and talk and sort out their issues with them.
okay,
So how
okay.
do you see that?
Yeah, no, look, let's start off with certain assumptions. The one assumption I think is that the Pakistanis are not imbeciles; they are rational actors. Okay, uh, they may be misguided in their thinking. They may have made wrong assumptions, but they are rational. So they are not going to be the ones to sell only to Saudi Arabia. Now, this Iranian nuclear issue has been a bugbear not just for Saudi Arabia, but also for UAE and also for Turkey, even more than Saudi Arabia, so Turkey. The very fact that Turks have always stood with Pakistan, despite nothing except the religion being common, is not only a historical legacy of Baghdad Pact, CENTO and D8. Uh, they stayed together also for this reason in recent times. Erdogan seems to believe that in case Iran goes nuclear, Pakistan will be amenable to share their nuclear technology with them. I'm aware of the fact that their chief of their, something like our DRDO, whom I'd met personally twice, had been, he was a nuclear scientist and he had been in Pakistan for a couple of years doing nuclear with the labs and things like this. The Pakistanis have been supporting them in their nuclear research in Turkey. The Pakistanis have midwifed sort of a transfer of rocketry from China to this thing, Turkey, WS-80 and all that. And I know of a team which went when I was there as DA, when they were measuring the flight paths and all that. So there were 7 officers from Signals Regiment of Corps of Signals from Pakistan were there to help. So that kind of a interaction is there, and one of the basis of the interaction is that in case necessary, the nuclear weapons will come from Pakistan, and if not the nuclear weapons, then the complete technology will come. As far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, you would be surprised to know that first ever leader to be granted access to Pakistani nuclear facilities, even before the Pakistani Prime Minister was given, was Prince Abdullah of Saudi Arabia, who later became King Abdullah. He was the one who was given this. And it is well documented that they gave more than $1 billion for this nuclear development in Pakistan. So it was not just China, money came from Saudi Arabia. And it goes without saying that in case required, in case the day Iran goes nuclear, within a few months you will have Saudi Arabia declaring openly that they possess nuclear weapons. And when they bought CSS-3, remember CSS-3 was bought from China, and they were modified. I mean, they could carry nuclear weapons if required. So Israel has weapons. If Iran also has weapons, Turkey and Saudi Arabia will definitely have those weapons in a month's time from Iran going nuclear. And that is another reason probably Americans, what we blame them for anything else, but they are also worried genuinely for this reason. Only this not only weakens Israel's position, which is their 51st state for all practical purposes, but then it creates a whole lot of complications for the whole region as far as America is concerned. Yeah. There will be a large number of people who will refuse to listen to the Americans, and that's why Americans are working overnight, despite being unhappy with MBS, despite being unhappy with Netanyahu. They are still trying to make sure that Netanyahu and MBS, kiss each other and sign a deal. So there is going to be a complication in this case, but Saudi Arabia knows fully well that they have a dependable friend, ally, or what should I say, somebody who is obliged to give them weapons without any problems. This is what.
Sir, this was an insightful talk. Thank you so much for taking all the time. I look forward for actually keeping this relationship alive. I hope we can do these talks very often. It'll be great to interact with you, and thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time. And till next time, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.